Okay, here we go. It is 12 noon. I wonder, Blake, if we're going to be lucky enough to get Laura Loomer in with us today. Laura Loomer was saying, out on the X5 forum, she said, everybody's a bot. Everybody's a robot. There's no real people. Is anybody real out there? And so I tagged you and me. I said, yeah, I'm real. I'm real. I do a show.
I'm not an AI bot. No.
Yeah,
I'm sure Herc would disagree, but
Herc would. But that's just Herc.
Anyway, I'm just part of his part of his mushroom trip, maybe.
Yeah, you know what? I love you. I'm so glad to see you. One of the things I'm reading through, again, I read this years ago. I'm a big fan of this author. One of my favorites, especially within the Christian circles, is This is the Normal Christian Life by Watchman Nee. This is kind of like the spiritual man condensed, okay? It talks about the blood of Jesus, the cross, the work of salvation, redemption, sanctification. If we live in the Spirit, we should also walk in the Spirit. An amazing book, highly recommended by yours truly, Watchman Nee, The Normal Christian Life. So busy working my way through that, really enjoying it again. It's good to be reminded, the Apostle Paul, what's that, Paul? Yeah, Paul, I think said, don't be removed from the simplicity that is in Christ, right? Don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to go cocky. Like, we got so many stories to get into. Sue's outside right now, so I can't get into that one right now. So I'll do some heavy lifting for as long as I'm able to. Ladies and gentlemen, we got some indictments going down, there's all sorts of shit. It's not so much indictments, but really what's happened is that a grand jury has been convened. The grand jury has been convened. Now, this first clip, this is just pure comedy gold, Blake, because they chose, I chose to show NBC's take, MSNBC's take on it. If you want to see somebody being kicked, dragging, reluctantly, it's kind of like, and did you poop in your pants? Did you poop in your pants? So they go, yeah. I want to show your father that you pooped in. Oh, I pooped in my pants. And then I'm sad about it, but I'll admit it, I did it. So bear that in mind as you see what I'm going to show you here. I'll play the clip. This is just absolutely nonsensical. Actually, since Sue's here, could you do the clip for me? It's the first one, grand jury. It's the biggest story going right now. For years on our side of the aisle, we've been waiting for justice to come. Where the hell is justice? It's fled the land. No accountability. Everybody's getting away with nothing. Here's MSNBC reluctantly, and they, how do you put it? They frame it in such a way, the very much disparage, the unreliable, they put all these qualifiers in, and none of them hold water.
And that's why their ratings continue to tank.
They're going to
at some point, they're going to have to change. They have to. I mean, how can you not make money?
Volume up?
What's that?
Can you turn Blake's volume up?
Oh, sorry. My main volume is down.
Yeah.
There you go. It's not Blake. Blake's fine.
Okay,
it's me. I had to turn it up. All right, here we go. I'm going to play it. This is MSNBC. And look at her. This is Joe. You can't make it up. This is fucking hilarious.
I can do that.
Hold it. Go back a little bit, Sue. Go back one step and make the beg with Svetlana what she says. Okay, I'll do it. Yeah, okay, hold on. NBC operatives are having to report about the grand jury, and she added, and they aren't happy about it. Okay, make her all big, and Blake and I are going to enjoy this as a family. Here we go.
Some more news breaking this hour to tell you about. Attorney General Pam Bondi has ordered a grand jury investigation into the so-called Russiagate conspiracy allegations made by the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. A senior Trump administration official confirms to NBC News. That investigation was first reported by Fox News. These are unsubstantiated and largely debunked allegations by the Trump administration that former President Barack Obama and his aides in the intelligence community ordered a probe into the 2016 Trump campaign's connections to Russia to ruin his chances of becoming president. The source tells NBC News that a letter signed by Pam Bondi instructs an unnamed federal prosecutor to begin presenting evidence to secure potential indictments, although it is unclear what the charges would be and exactly who the grand jury will be targeting. We'll stay on top of that story. Thank you for letting us into your homes. We are.
Yes, I'm sure you will.
Look at the tears are starting to form in there.
Boom, 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 boom. Make America great again. Game over. Yes. We love it, Beatles. 001. This is a great channel. The great lady who follows our adventures, Blake, and follows me over on my music channel as well. This is great news. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just follow very quickly on the heels of this one. There is one called is it Toronto More? Lawyer Up. Ooh, Lawyer Up. Put that one in. Lawyer Up. Look out, trouble's coming to town. Man, justice rides, you know, the what is it? The wheels of justice turn ever slowly, but turn they do. Okay, this is a hit parade of some of those we just love. Lawyer Up, you traitors. Representative James Comer reporting breaking. The House Oversight Committee is compelling the following individuals to appear for depositions through issues subpoenas. And Sue, I'm giving you the honor of reading the names through.
Oh, wow.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, blah. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. October 9th, former President Bill Clinton. Attorney General Merrick Garland.
Holy shit.
FBI Director James Comey. Attorney General William Barr. Interesting. Attorney General Alberto. Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Robert Mueller. Attorney General Loretta Lynch. Attorney General Eric Holder. Fast and Furious.
Yes.
Okay.
So, okay, and then Matt Von Swell, maybe accountability will finally come for those who committed crimes against the American people. I wake up every morning and see a document drop of someone who's clearly done a crime, but no arrest. Maybe we'll finally get some arrests. Blake, what a great time for me to turn it over to you. So there we go. We got names. We've got a grand jury convened. Tell me a little bit. Do you know much about grand juries, how they operate, and why we don't have a prosecutor named, and why there's so much secrecy around this?
Well, I think it's to protect the biases that are built when the jury that's supposed to be reviewing the evidence, and that's basically what it is. They want to see if it goes to the next stage, which would be trial. So they're having to review if it goes to the next level. So it's not an actual trial where somebody is being convicted. They can't do that. I don't believe they do that in the grand jury, but it's that sort of first step, especially in super-sized cases like this that need to have some form of public, the public side where it's showing it's not a biased process. But sadly, we've been under lawfare for a while, so it's going to be difficult.
What they can do, I'll tell you, Blake, what they can do, the grand jury now has the power to look at the evidence, interview these individuals, examine them, bring the evidence, and from there, they can then move towards a conviction.
Exactly.
And the indictment. They move, from there they moved in the indictments. So we can get indictments out of this thing. Once the indictments go, then we go to trial. The charges get laid. And we got a Department of Justice that I believe, apart from all naysayers and critics of Pam Bondi, who's been, confusing people, and she's been a big question mark for so many. But I have a feeling, since she's brought this to her recommendation has gone forward, there's no stopping this now. And I love the fact that they brought in Robert Mueller, but they're also bringing in people like Bill Barr. They're bringing in, who's the other little guy, the little elf that we love? Jeff Sessions.
Yeah,
I love that little guy. They had a lot of these guys had their hands tied. Barr is a little more questionable. I think Sessions was a decent guy, but had his hands tied for what he was able to do. Back in the first term, Trump didn't have the ability to do what he has the ability to do now, is get these charges and make them stick. Do you know where this grand jury's convening, Blake?
Florida.
Yeah,
they are convening in Florida. And you know what allowed them to convene in Florida?
Because of Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, those idiots went in and they raided. I love the meme where you got Hunter crack smoking Hunter Biden, with the crack pipe in there. He's half naked. He's got whores around him, and then there's little what's the Trump, Barron Trump, a little kid, and they go, the FBI raided little Barron Trump with his model airplanes, his little, his little modeling kit or so, whatever the kid's into. And then they go after him, but they leave the crackhead alone. They don't raid that idiot's place. They go after the little Barron Trump. Yep. So wow. Florida, they have a really good chance of doing some damage there, real damage against the deep state. Now, in contrast, hang on, I'm going to have some fun. In contrast to, there he is. In contrast to how you saw NBC cover this same story, I want to do a little bit of Dr. Steve Turley's take on this. And let's go videos for his most recent. Okay. Here we go. And it's just such a contrast to what we saw with the Dower reluctantly dragging the heels and all discredited. This guy has a different take on it entirely. Let's give him some love, Dr. Stephen Turley. And we won't, obviously, it's a long video. We're just going to play a little bit. Like, here we go.
Just sent shockwaves throughout the deep state. Happened just hours ago. Attorney General Pam Bondi picked up the phone, made one call, and now Obama's entire inner circle is lawyering up. That's not even remotely an exaggeration. My namesake, Jonathan Turley, professor of law at George Washington University, frequent Fox contributor, he said this: half of the lawyers in Washington just went under retainer, and it seems like the other half are retaining them. The Trump Justice Department has Democrats in complete panic mode. And today, literally hours ago, it just got worse for them. This is the moment we have all been waiting for. The grand jury that patriots have been demanding for years just became a reality. So here's what happened. Pam Bondi.
All right. So we know what happens. I want to go hang on and do this for everybody. So what I'll do is I'll drop the link to Turley. Please watch the rest of that presentation. Good guy. He oversells a bit. I mean, he's a professional YouTube guy. He's out there to make a little coin. But nonetheless, I like the guy. At the end of the day, when the dust settles with the guy, I think he's sincere. And, he's been fighting this fight like everybody else. He's one of the few people who's been able, alongside you and me, at least so far, Blake, have been able to survive. I think we're so small, we're allowed to survive on YouTube a little bit. But it is just crazy. Okay. I like this. I think I heard the grand juries in Florida. They are cooked. It is in Florida. There is no doubt it's in Florida. You're going to have a patriot-based jury convene there. They're in deep doo-doo. And I hope, I pray that justice, overdue justice on the way. Go ahead,
talking
Sue.
to Eric Holder, too, like people still want justice for the Fast and Furious scandal, where it was about
Crossfire
the guns.
Hurricane.
Well, the guns that ended up in the hands of Mexican cartel guys and border guys got killed after that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, be interesting to see some justice for that.
Well, and we've been seeing, I think everybody's pulling out all of the issues that have happened in the last 30 years, looking for full disclosure now. Like, I've been watching people talking about they want the files now released on the Timothy McVeigh Oklahoma City bombing as well.
Cover that, Blake. That's a great comment. I love that. Because there's some voodoo going on with that story, my friend.
Well, exactly. The missing second character, John Doe number 2, that 24 witnesses saw, but apparently there was no. The FBI said, well, there was no John Doe number 2. That all the witnesses were just confused. The other was that the fact that there was I think the conspiracy theory behind it is that there was a connection with the Clintons and the legal troubles they were getting into as well. At that time, I believe the Whitewater case was brewing, and the Waco, Texas, a year later, that was the the reasons why they put it around that. But the fact is, Timothy McVeigh may have gone through the fastest trial in history to having his life lost over the murder of allegedly the 150 some odd people that were killed in the blast. But there was just some strange behavior around that case as well, and tied to very elite people. Janet Reno was involved.
Yeah,
she's kind of a character within the Clinton group that all that happened. So hopefully, as I said, this stuff can start coming out, but we don't want to be distracted, right? I think they're going to bite the heads off the snake first, and get rid of those people, and then they can start opening up all the other stuff in the past as it starts to probably expose really this cartel that's been operating, a deep state cartel, for more than just the last 20 years, but it's been going on for probably 30, 40 years now. And some of these characters still have power in the background.
John F. Kennedy got killed. I think that's the kind of our launching point for that, right? The space age and the death of JFK. What was behind that? Who was behind that? Maybe it all ties in. It sets the stage. Now, big news coming out. The Supreme Court is looking at the whole issue of political districts, electoral districts, and how they're worked. It's called gerrymandering, when you work it and you fudge it and you make it work the way you want it to do. It's a corruption. And the Democrats were very good at this for a very long time. There's one district, somebody showed a picture of one in Texas, and it goes from like San Antonio, and then it swirls out, and then it takes a bend, and just in order. It's all done based on race. And the Supreme Court is addressing the question whether it's questioned the constitutionality of creating districts based on racial or ethnic bases. Yeah. And that's not, it's counter constitutional is the argument. So we're going to see what happens. Now, things are already moving in Texas. Right out in the land of Texas. I love that. The Lone Star State. We love Texas. Have you wondered how an idiot like Jasmine Crockett could even get elected? You're thinking of cowboys and America first, and oh damn it, I need a steak today. How do? And so you're thinking about all that great 10-gallon hats, Texas.
Yellow Rose of Texas.
Yellow Rose of Texas. Alamo, remember the Alamo. So you're thinking about Texas. We love Texas. But then you got all these weird things. You go, oh, Texas, Dems are going, Texas is going to go blue. And you go, how the hell can that happen? Well, it happens through gerrymandering, and they're putting an end to it. But in a not unexpected move, the Democrats are freaked out because people like Jasmine Crockett, who has no right, no logical basis, in any real working world to ever be representing anything, but maybe meatloaf, maybe. But anyway, they've all fled to Illinois, a sanctuary state.
Oh, I wonder why that area, Chicago, hiding out in Chicago.
Yeah. Okay. So because they've gone and left, rather than vote, right? They need a quorum to vote on this whole issue of redistricting five areas. Okay. And when they do that, Blake, if this goes down, and if the Supreme Court decision goes through, the Dems are not going to win a House. They'll never win control of the House, probably ever again. Huge responsibility to the Republicans now. Don't screw it up. If you straighten up and fly right and do America first, you're going to be okay. But if you betray Trump, if you go all liberal, if you go globalist policies, if you go, dare I say, elbows up, you're not going to get anywhere. And the Dems will come back with a vengeance. But right now, things are looking very good. So 52 Democrats out of the Texas Congress moved out, or Senate maybe, and they moved off to Illinois. And now this has happened. Here we go. Okay, Sue, do you want to read this? A little break from my voice.
Sure. Breaking: the Texas House has officially passed a motion to file arrest warrants for all Democrats who illegally fled Texas to prevent a quorum, which is, of course, against Texas law. Arrest all Democrats who fled Texas and broke Texas law and charge them, including felony based on Texas law.
Excuse me.
So these are felony charges that are coming up for these people. So let's see what happens.
And scroll down a bit. I just love this. And read that one in a clear, loud voice. Look at that big
no
line.
one is above the law.
Right.
Attorney General Ken Paxton released a statement regarding rogue Democrat lawmakers who fled Texas to break the quorum.
Okay, do you want to play the little clip there? That'll be fun to hear.
Let's see what
it gives. You can leave.
Directed to send the motion prevails. The sergeant at arms and any officers appointed by her are directed to send for all absentees whose attendance is not excused for the purposes of securing and maintaining their attendance under warrant of arrest if necessary until further order of the House.
Swing that gavel.
Come on, tear it. Bang.
All right. So anyway, really good news.
Will call to leave the chamber and return tomorrow.
All right. Well, and it goes on.
Okay.
So essentially, they need to be arrested and dragged back there for the vote.
Yes, they're looking for them to be extradited. Now, as soon as they step foot back in Texas again, keep in mind that these are representatives of the Texas people. So they have an obligation.
Well, what happened about democracy? I thought all these lefties were all about democracy.
Wow.
It's all about democracy. So show up and vote.
Yeah.
Vote against it if you have to, but that's just part of your job to vote. I mean, that's all you're supposed to be there so you can go through this process. But this shows that most progressives aren't for democracy at all. They're all about authoritarian rule. They don't like it. They don't like democracy because democracy, as they put it, sometimes doesn't serve their needs.
It's almost like when the rules are actually in play where it's all fair. Like Jasmine Crockett said, every time don't do a voter ID and this sort of thing, because then we don't get the votes if you do that. Once you start putting accountability, you can just say accountability, that kills the Democrats. And we know all about, mail-in voting and the problems, different things that happen, And on YouTube, we're still on YouTube, so we got to still be careful.
Well, I think we could talk about it's okay to discuss the fact that voter fraud should be prevented. That's a crime.
Yeah.
And but the point is that nobody's asking for much, but I think it insults a lot of people. And I'm not talking about white people, but anybody who got an ID at some point in their life, a driver's license, identification for services or whatever, get a credit card, open a bank account, et cetera, et cetera. All these things, you need to have identification, but they're trying to make it so that, you don't need ID. It's racist to have ID.
Yeah.
Well, that insults everybody of color that has ID. What do you mean? It's racist that they went and got ID as well? So you know what this is all about.
But we use ID. You need ID everywhere. And in fact, here's some concerning news coming out of England. We got 4D here. I love 4D. Did you hear, Blake, where Spotify is now requiring, as part of the online safety harms thing that they got going in the UK, that you need to get facial ID and a proof of age verification in order to play music on Spotify. And people are bailing in the UK. They're bailing on Spotify. It's because people don't want to be tracked that way because they use that information to go after your bank account as part of your social credit score. They can track you. They can see what you're up to. And they say, you've been a bad boy or a bad girl. We are going to discipline you. Ladies and gentlemen, Marty in Oregon is here. I love Marty. Marty.
Welcome, Marty.
Welcome, of course, my buddy 4D. So 4D, this is something that they've just rolled out. And I'm hearing also one fella had put out a thing on the X platform here in Canada for PayPal. They want your picture. They want to verify. Again, it's a part of that online. And I've got a Patreon. I make some small coin, a very nominal amount of money there. But if I want to continue receiving money there, then they want to, get a better, picture of me. And once PayPal learns about, ghost town politics, Oh, Blake, I got no money. They took my money now.
Well, I've had some pretty in my own business affairs lately, some creepy affairs like that with regards to payment processors asking very probing questions that has nothing to do with my business. So, I'm not going to say who, because this is a very public forum and in that side of it. I don't want them turning off our lifeline right now. I might have to move payment processors, but these payment processors are doing exactly that. They're invading a lot of information they do not need to know. It's none of their business, but they're going after information that's very personal, and they're asking for business details. It's really a private affair between myself and my other business partners of what we discuss about our business plans. It's nothing to do. We're not asking for loans. Your job is to process credit cards. That's it. But they are, because they're controlled by the globalists, these guys are asking very probing questions.
Yeah, well, and you're a legitimate. I mean, I'm just a retiree, in a double wide trailer out in Nanaimo.
Like, we'll survive if PayPal.
Yeah, I'll survive. But for someone like you who's still in the workforce and you've got a business and you're dealing with a kind of a hot button issue in terms of rentals and housing and all that sort of thing, we know they're all over that. That is absolutely horrific.
Well, there's one point I want to make. I talk about voter ID because and the redistricting side. So I'm probably going to catch a bit of flack for this, but the fact was ID did not exist when the U.S. Constitution was created. It was we didn't have it. We didn't have we didn't have it in Canada. We didn't have a physical ID. So it was really a system of affidavits. Essentially, you would arrive and you would have people vouch for you. Yeah, this is my neighbor. I know who they are. They live next door. They've been there. This is their child. They were born in this town. So there was a process of vouching. They just didn't have like a card with their face on it.
Well, I mean, and with this, there's always an exception. Everything. I mean, there was freedom of the city papers. So if you had a trade, say you're a candlestick maker, you could go get your freedom of the city once you went in and you joined the guild of honored and esteemed candlestick makers, and you'd get your little document. I do a lot of genealogy. I see these kind of papers come up for an ancestor every now and then. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal when you get that, because it's got men of influence signing off on it and the whole thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you used to have to do to get your passport. You'd have to get two professionals to sign your passport, like a doctor, a lawyer, et cetera, et cetera.
There's a bullshit leftist talking point. Spotify taking a page from Trump playbook. They want all voter registries from each state so they can purge rolls. No, not valid voters. They're looking to purge it from dead people, motherfucker. They're looking to purge it of people that are voting in two locations. They're looking to purge it for somebody who's registered in one state and suddenly shows up in another state. You clean up those register rolls and you'll see some real justice come through. And you Democrats are so foobarred. You guys are being taken to the cleaners. The Democrat Party may never rise again and may never come back. Now that a grand jury has been convened against some of your top players, you people are in deep, deep trouble. And there may be no coming back from it. And I, for one, could not be happier. Okay, let's turn a little bit to Canada and see how we're doing. Now, all our media, and Blake, is all in with Canada and our elbows up. And while the Canadian economy is not feeling any impact from these tariffs from Trump.
So says the media.
So says the media. That's the whole thing. Like Carney's Canada is showing remarkable resilience is the term they're using.
Yeah.
We got this one. Sue, can you grab that one for me? It's called aluminum. Or as we say in England for our English friends, aluminium. They got the aluminium. So, holy smokes.
Like vitamins.
Yeah, vitamins. Have our vitamins out in the boot. Okay, folks, take a look here. Breaking: Canadian steel and aluminum exports plummet in June. They've been cut in half. Trouble coming. Lowest in decades. Stats Canada is our source. And there you go for your exports.
Yep.
Boom. It's just dropped. And that's June. So July's numbers, what do you think July's numbers going to be doing? Big rebound there, Blake?
Well, here's the thing. that article was based on past data. So the tariffs hadn't had a chance because Trump kept postponing it and providing a further details of moving things forward. Most of what would be tariff was still protected under the U.S. Canada-Mexico agreement that still stands at the moment. So it's not everything is being tariffed, but the tariffs that affect now won't show until your next quarter of statistics, how much it's hitting hard. Now, I have to be honest, like I can see with my own eyes what's happening. I operate in a space in industry where people travel, spend money, and I'm seeing a lot less people, a lot less plates from all over the place. BC used to be filled with plates. These tariffs are going to have an impact on everybody's bottom line, their wallet. They're going to have to choose if they're going to travel or not. All those extracurricular activities are being pulled back. They're now having to decide what they can buy in the grocery stores, for food. They're going to have to cut back there. They'll have to cut back on internet services, streaming services. So the next quarter, I would say by the end of 2025, it's going to look miserable to the point where Carney's got no choice. He's got to make the decision. It's either give up the supply management monopolies in Canada or die by death by 1,000 cuts. That's essentially what's going to happen.
Wow, really interesting. And now, okay, I'll go to Sue for this next one. What do you got for us, Sue, lined up here? Sue's just very confidently wave it. Just play it, Rach. Okay, here we go. Let's see what she's got. I'm excited. I have no idea. Okay, Sue, do you want to read this one?
Yeah, Canada is in trouble here. These tariffs could be an extinction level event for Canada on a political level. Canada has no dry powder to deal with this. No gold, hardly any foreign reserves. POC has tapped. The Liberals used it all up during good times. Harper warned of this.
Okay, let's say picture. I like the picture. It looks exciting.
Yeah.
Then the dinosaurs with an extinction level comment.
Yeah, represent Canada's dinosaur media, dinosaur industries, and monopolies run by the Laurentian elite. Yeah.
And the BOC that Sue mentions there is the Bank of Canada. So we're in a lot of trouble. Trudeau sold off our gold reserves. Did you hear about this, Blake? I'm sure you did.
That's why gold's so valuable here.
Yeah, you play the market a little bit, right?
A little bit, yeah. I'm watching gold. Gold's doing well right now.
Okay, this is a great question coming up for Marty. But before we go to Marty's question, I just want to talk about this a little bit. So Canada's really misplayed this. We're in real trouble up here. Let's take a look on this. Rach, if the economy tanks in the coming year, will your assessment be to blame the left, or will Trump's tactics be worthy of criticism? Trump's tactics will be worthy of criticism, of course, because the proof is in the tasting. So far, things are going great. He's brought in $221 billion. I believe something like 27 bill or so was brought in the month of May alone. One of these statistics are all out there. So I don't see your question, because you know what, Marty, you're a good guy. And there's no bullshit about you. You're a very honest individual. You're very cards on the table kind of guy. So I never see any grandstanding with you, unlike Russell and, Herc and some of these other cats who I like as people. They're good guys. I like these guys. But politically, obviously, we disagree. We're miles apart. I'm also miles apart from you. I recognize that, Marty. But no, so far they've worked really well. And one of the things I saw John Fetterman, they asked John Fetterman. I'll see. Sue, can you just go Fetterman on Trump or Fetterman tariffs? Okay. Just punch that in on X, because it was a double whammy. Not only did John Fetterman say that he thought Trump's tariffs are working, he said, a guy that I respect a great deal is Bill Maher. And Bill Maher has said, I got to admit, I didn't think they'd work. They are working.
But let's remember who Fetterman is. Fetterman represents Pennsylvania, where there's a lot of blue-collar miners and steel workers there. And these tariffs are increasing production locally at home now. There's more jobs. So if the Dems have, and you mentioned the Dems may die, the Dems saving grace in this would be to come back to where they stood before, which was for the blue-collar worker, not for the elite government workers, the leftist progressives that have consumed most of the public policy side and government offices that essentially have removed the blue collars jobs through incredible and insane environmental policies. And they've drove a wedge between the two types of unions, the public service union, the blue collar. So Fetterman is a guy, I think he knows who's his base is back home.
He knows where one side of the bread is buttered.
Yeah, it's blue collar workers who are working the mines, working the steel factories. Those
Not
are the
so
guys.
much the pink-haired people.
Yeah, you got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Okay, so what do we got here? John Fetterman admits Trump is winning the trade war. Tariffs are working. Even Democrats are starting to realize it. Play the clip.
Make it big. Think right now Trump is winning the trade war. Do you agree with those who think he is?
I mean, absolutely. I think that, obviously what happened at the EU, and again, I'm a huge fan of Bill Maher. And I think he's really one of the oracles for my party. And he acknowledges, hey, he thought that the tariffs were going to tank the economy, and he acknowledged that it did. So, so for me, it's like, again, it seems like the EU thing has been going well, and I guess we'll see how it happens with China.
I'm wondering if you think right now Trump is winning.
So, what a crazy endorsement. There's John Fetterman. For the reasons Blake says, something remarkable happened in Canada over the weekend, Blake. We had Pride Vancouver. They were doing a big parade, and they came out, or maybe it was Pride Toronto. I can't.
No, it was Vancouver. I believe it was Carney.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hold on. Well, there's so much happening, but I want to talk about the juxtaposition, worlds in collision, where ideologies clash, and we got LGBTQ plus on one side, we got the Free Palestine crowd on the other. The organizers of one of these parades, whether Vancouver, Toronto, they said no Israeli gays. We love gays. We don't like Jew gays. Okay, yeah. We're that kind of gay. We just don't want that kind of gay. So, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, so they got that. So there's all the poor Jewish gays. Where are they going to do their buggery, Blake? My God, I feel sorry for them. So anyway, now they're having their little gay parade. All the little gay characters are out there prancing about. Some of them in their nakedness, admittedly. And as they're dancing and frolicking and tallywhackers are dangling and boobies are jumping, they ran across Free Palestine. Free Palestine says, "Oh, gays, we've got control of the street." So you've got on one side the LGBTQ plus, on the other side, and they're both leftists. They're both embraced by the left.
Marxists, yeah.
You're going nowhere. Something's got to give. In the arm wrestle, who do you see winning? The Palestinians or the gays? Who's going to ultimately free Palestine or free buggery? Who's going to win, Blake?
Well, it's a civil war, so that's their side. But there's a lot of, I would call, quote unquote, conservative gays that who have walked away from all of that.
Yes.
That pride flag crap, which has basically become a Marxist symbol. And that's the difference, because there is a lot of conservative or libertarian gays out there who don't agree with all of their policies and think that it's been hijacked by this group. And it's college Marxists. That's who's taken it over. These are the people that are dividing people even further into smaller segment groups to control. So who's going to win? Nobody. Everybody loses under that situation. And I think, if you watch any of the videos of from Palestinians in their own homelands, when you watch some of the old videos that you sometimes see portrayed of what they're being told, what they need to do to homosexuals, throw them off roofs, stone them to death. I think the left needs to have a little bit of a reckoning. But most of these people protesting aren't even Palestinians. They're rabble-rousing far left progressives that are Marxists. That's what they are. They're just Marxists. They just don't have their hammer. Some of them do have their hammer and sickles out, but they are literally Marxists. And these people do whatever they can to continue to divide and destroy the Western civilization. That's the target. Jews are a catalyst in that, just because they're seen by them as being a representation of capitalism, because Jews have been very good at capitalism historically. So
yeah, well, it's all based on the fact. I mean, it's Genesis, pardon the term, is within the whole idea of the concept of usury. The Catholics wouldn't allow usury, paying with interest. So the Jews became the money lenders because it was filthy lucre. It was money. It was defiled. It was sinful. The Jews didn't have any of those compunctions. And so they said, we'll do it. We'll become your money handlers. And, by opting out, you don't want money. We love money. So the Jews came in and went for it. Hey, why don't Canada agree to lower their tariffs and allow more U.S. goods from Danny Allen? Danny, thanks.
Good question, Danny.
Blake will tell you why. We know why. Go ahead.
Because Canada is a giant monopoly built by the Hudson's Bay Company. That's how it all began. It is controlled markets. We have what's called supply management up here. We limit competition to allow these monopolies to have control. So essentially, that's why Canada's having a spat with the United States, because the United States says, hey, we want our dairy products to compete with Canadian dairy products, so we can go trade both ways on it. And our wood products to compete with your wood products, our banks to compete with your banks, vice versa. But Canada doesn't allow it. So if we want to end the tariffs, it's pretty simple. Canada doesn't even have to lose its country to become part of the 51st state talk or anything like that. It's simply, all they have to do is agree to trade fairly, end the market monopolies, end the market supply management. And that's why U.S. goods aren't free flowing up here. They're tariffed in a lot of ways. Some aren't because of trade agreements, but they are being controlled by Canadian market monopolies.
Okay, and when we look at the market, I was just very curious about, how somebody posted just yesterday, says it looks like the markets, the Dow was up, everything was going green, right? You got the green and the red.
Yeah.
And the markets were doing exceptionally well. What do you got here for us, Sue?
New Poly Market.
New Poly Market. Let's take a look what they're doing here. Okay, now this is sad. This is breaking my heart to report this. Blake, no one in Canada is sadder than yours truly. New Poly Market, will Canada become the 51st state? 94% say it ain't going to happen. Well, of course, the question's closely framed. This year, even I don't think we're going to become the 51st state this year. But scroll her down. And then because I threw in my answer. I don't know, once we're past that, somewhere in there. I thought you had my thing. It doesn't matter. There's mine coming up.
There you are.
I go, well, that's unfortunate. Oh, well, elbows up I get. There we are with our commie flag. But no, there's still this movement. Canada's under incredible pressure right now. I think it's foolish to try to even think in terms of this year, even in my most optimistic. My God, we're in August now. Okay, so we're more than halfway through the year now. It's not going to happen this year. It's going to take a while. They're going to hold on for quite a while. But eventually, the Laurentian elite, we call them here, are going to have to drop it. Trump's going to drop it. And eventually, they're going to have to drop it. Now, we got some good news coming out of Alberta. There is a referendum going forward. It looks like they're not going to be able to stop it. They're pushing for it. And Canada's fighting against it tooth and nail, the back east, because there goes their pay pig, to borrow a quote from a good friend of ours. Yep. Alberta, the pay pig for Canada. And it's going to go away. And if it goes, Canada is doomed. The whole idea is that it just breaks down. Blake, can you please name the monopoly in Canada? The dairy cartel is a big one.
Yeah, the dairy monopoly is probably one of the most well-known, because it's the most front and center, because Canada, literally, dairy farmers have to dump millions and millions and millions of gallons of milk down the toilet because they're restricted on how much they can produce, which the tariffs from the U.S. is coming, U.S. dairy products are hit at nearly 300%. So just imagine, dairy affects a lot of industries. It's not just milk for your cereal, and or you like a glass of milk. But it's restaurants, any food production, cheese, all the ice cream, anything that you eat. A lot of stuff you eat has dairy products built into it, and it's highly controlled here. That's one. The other I would put in is our
telecommunications.
Well, the Canadian Wheat Board, right? The control of where you can sell your crops are controlled by a government monopoly called the Canadian Wheat Board. So, so you got Farm Telecommunications is another one. There's a limit on who can compete in that market. We basically have 2/3 companies that compete at that level. We've also got a highly controlled area in the regulating of automobiles as well. So you need to take a look at that. What can be brought in and depending on its source, where it was built. I mean, there's some cross-border deals with Chevy and Ford, of course, but there is airlines is another one. We have 0 American domestic airlines, U.S. airlines operating in Canada. They'll fly internationally out of Canada to the U.S. and vice versa, but there is no domestic flights. So United doesn't fly domestically, or Alaska or Delta. Any of those don't fly domestically in Canada. So we have a highly restrictive airlines, and you could go through the list. There's so much here.
In America, your antitrust laws would stop all of this, okay? There would be so much antitrust lawsuits flying left, right, and center. Even as it is, International Trade Commission investigating dairy protein dumping allegations against Canada's supply management system. The United States is initiating. The U.S. isn't happy about it. They're taking us on. This story was just published 9 hours ago, and it was updated an hour ago. This is hot off the press. So this is an evolving story, a moving story, and it's central to one of the main choke points between America and Canada. Boy, oh boy. And then our banking situation is horrific here.
Yeah. All of our big banks operate in the U.S., but the Canadian government doesn't allow international banks to operate really at a retail level outside of HSBC. But HSBC just left. They've bailed on Canada. They basically handed it all over to Royal Bank of Canada. Oh, wow. And we see further consolidation of banks that are here as well.
Again, I've met, because I was reading another thing. Blake, so Royal Bank has just gained control of what entity?
HSBC, which was the Hong Kong Bank of Canada.
Yeah, we see them all over. Their logos are everywhere. So
they're gone now.
So there's another one gone. And of course, we're seeing this shrinking. It happens with corporations as well. Big corporations buy up little companies, and you end up going, what? They're owned by this? You see it in the music thing. Of course, I have a music channel. I'm big into rock and roll and the Beatles and classic rock and all that sort of thing. And you'll see where amplifiers like Denon and Marantz and brand names they're now under the same heading, where at one time they were independent companies. And now when you go to buy a stereo component, frequently it doesn't matter, A, B, C, D, they're all actually under one bigger corporation.
I mean, they've done that for a long time. A lot of those stereo companies used to all be made by Sony, and faceplate would just be the only different, right? That would be it. It would just be the brand name would be a different name on the front, but it would still be made by Sony.
The power and the control in Canada over media. For example, if you want to be on the internet, you got 3 choices that I'm aware of currently. Maybe 4 with Elon Musk's satellite ability. I forget what he calls it. Starlink. Yeah. But you've got the smaller player is Bell Canada. They're a small player. Yeah. But you got Rogers Telecommunications and Shaw were the 2 big 2, and they merged into one entity. So the 2 biggest players in Canada decided, let's be one big mega thing. You have a hope in hell of competing against those things. And it would be to every Canadian's interest to get Starlink up here and bypass it all, break free of all this stuff. Huge taxes in Canada, huge government control.
One big problem, though, and I want
Go.
to
Yeah,
answer why it's a problem in Canada and why they're going to be entrenched and why the elbows up boomers don't want to change anything
Yeah.
is because the union pension funds from the public service employees and the Canadian pension plan
Yeah.
are heavily invested in these monopolies. So the almost $1 trillion valuation of the Canadian CPP alone has huge investments in these monopolies.
Yeah.
And again, the public service unions and their pensions are heavily invested in that and heavily invested in controlling Canadian real estate. So they don't, all the lies that we're being told about elbows up has nothing to do with about protecting Canadian trade. It's about protecting the boomers' pensions. That's it. They want the monopoly. They don't want to lose. They don't want to compete on an open market like everybody else in the real world does. They want to have a controlled result. And that is the phony, what we call crony capitalism. And in Canada, we have if we did not have the US next door, Canada would be an outright fascist state. It would be 100% privately public partnership, wholly controlled by the government. And only those that were tied to the financial interests of the government would be allowed to succeed, which means the union pension funds, they've got this unholy alliance now between government workers who have their money into those corporations. And then, of course, the big asset managers, of which Mark Carney comes from, that's one of his things, are all owning all that. So that's the problem. These guys are heavily invested in it. If we could end that, and get into a true free market capitalism, free market competition, then I don't care if those unions want to participate in open competition. But when you have legislated monopolies to protect your investments, that's no longer free. That is restricting people's opportunities, and only those that have an investment in it get a chance to get ahead. And America was going down that path too, but I think it's being broken because a lot of those Democratic supporting corporations all had their chips. Same thing, union pension funds into Chinese companies producing cheap crap to dump into Walmart and everything else and Amazon across America. That's their interest, folks. It's all there. That's the unholy alliance. It was a mirror image of what Canada was doing. It was happening in the US. And that's where the Democrats went sideways. That's why they dumped their blue collar manufacturing class union supporters. And why they went to Trump is because they were taking all those jobs and casting them off into third world and second world countries and giving up on the people, their own people. And that's what makes America first, is that you support your own people at home, their own businesses, their own corporations.
Yeah.
And then if you want to pay to play, then you're fine. That's what's all Trump's saying. If you want to produce goods outside of our country and not build local, well, you got to pay. You got to pay to play. It's not this evil, hurt your feelings crap. This is just simply a pay to play system now. That's the way it is. If you want to produce cheap crap in China, go ahead, but you're going to pay 35% tariff.
Yeah.
To bring it back into America.
Yeah. And like in Trump with Canada, don't try and get around the tariffs I've laid on you. I'm going to hit you harder and you're going to pay even more. Danny Allen, Canada's closer to socialism than the USA currently is. Danny, Canada is a socialist country. Make no bones about it. We've been a socialist country for decades. Okay, that's Canada. Canada, you want to watch socialism, not communism, but socialism in action. This is it. With our healthcare, and there's problems with our healthcare that we've touted for generations, but now the pressure on the social safety net, they call it, are becoming so great. It's breaking even as I speak. The advent of a smaller independent media has been a blessing, correct? But the lack of comment to honest verification can be a problem, correct? Also,
we don't have millions of dollars to hire investigators to dig deep, so we got to go by the information that's publicly been produced.
But you also don't want to gain control of all that. Russell comes in. Conservatives love deregulation. Let corporations who are people, thanks to SCOTUS, do anything they want. Well, I agree with that. The whole idea, whoever came up with that idea, remember there's capitalism, Russell. You sound like a good commie kid. There's capitalism, but then there's crony capitalism. And once they define corporations as a person, That was crony capitalism in operation. That's what that was all about. Corporations will use whatever political wing necessary to maximize profits. Correct. It's not just a problem on the right or left. Correct. We agree. There's no disagreement on any of that.
Especially a merger. That's what we're seeing, right? It's that merger of that public and private capital moving together. And that's where you get your crony capitalism. That's where you have your big unions and their pension funds, and you have your private pension funds that go into funding these crony capitalist systems. So it's a spider web that's hard to break, that hurts all the little people, all the small businesses, medium businesses who are trying to get ahead. And let's face it, unionism in a lot of ways nowadays is just simply a monopoly on labor, and the other is a monopoly on capital. So they're both crony in their background. So it's all about legislative protections, and that needs to end.
WAPO has a long history of problems. So there's a lot of corruption in the Washington Post. They had to return a Pulitzer. Keep in mind, 3 or 4 Pulitzers went out over the Russia story, which is at the very nexus of today's discussion, the header of today's report. A grand jury has just been called. That's pulling the curtain back on all that corruption. Those Pulitzers, as Trump rightly said, should never have been given, but they were used. It's another weapon. It's a propaganda. It's a psyop to add legitimacy to the lie that Trump was involved with the Russians. There wasn't a word of truth in it. And rewarding the lie is another reason why the Pulitzer Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, all these awards, the music prize, the Grammys, the Oscars, all of it is meaningless. And they've lost, here's another area in our culture where they have lost people like myself. I don't give a fuck what you got. Somebody comes up, I got a Pulitzer Prize. I go, it's worth shit. Means nothing to me. Means nothing. There's a play right now they're showing, which I write viscerally in my gut because of my Christian faith. They got some lovely black lady running around looking like Nosferatu, running around supposedly playing Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. It's offensive in the stream. Jesus Christ Superstar was always a blasphemous piece of shit. But at least, it had Ian Gillan in the stage play version. It was pretty freaking rocking. It's got a good beat, Dick, and I can dance to it. But the soundtrack for the movie they did in '73, Jesus Christ, Jesus, that was no good. Get the original play. That's a good record. But as far as, the original thing, Christ rose from the dead. Jesus Christ Superstar. Great to be on the cross and everything. But praise God, Jesus, good news, the gospel, Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Glory to God. So 4D, be careful with your Woodward and Bernstein. The curtain is being drawn back on that. There's some information there that you want to dig into. Not is all that it appeared with what those guys were up to. The CIA was up to their involvement with the bugging of the Democrat convention in, what was it, Chicago, back a Watergate Hotel, wherever the hell that was. I don't even remember where.
I think it was in Washington, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, whatever. The whole Watergate bullshit. The CIA had their fingerprints all over that as well. One last story, because time grows short. And I got another show. I got a Patreon today. It will be a public show, so it's different. All music. Maybe a little politics, not much. The focus is music over there. But here we go. Blake, just over the weekend, this tells me Canada is not a serious country. This character that Mark Carney is wincing, having to feel his penis brush up against his own nubbins, is bringing in some
little lightsaber action.
Holy smoke. Strike me down, Darth, and I'll be twice as powerful. But the guy's a little bare boxed. He's got his little thong on, a little pink thong. Absolutely adorable. But this is a kind of nonsense. Thank God the President of the United States, carries himself with dignity, with repose, with such status and character But here's our guy just, swinging around, just getting involved
I'm
there.
afraid to scroll down.
And he is just wincing in there. Now, what's happening?
I said I'm afraid to
Be
scroll
very
down.
okay. All right. Okay. Don't go. No, we're gonna go. Oh my God. Holy shit. Oh my God. Yeah, Nixon was cool, man. There was nothing wrong. He was targeted. And for what you're seeing now with Russia, it's 100 times worse. It's like somebody shows a picture of a massive ship going by, like USS Nimitz, and then there's a little dinghy next to it. Watergate's the dinghy. This thing with Russia, what you assholes did to President Trump, it was treason. You're going down. Justice is coming. The hammer's coming down, and you're feeling it. I want to thank Blake McKenzie for being here today. I want everyone to give us a thumbs up. It always helps. Subscribe if you're new around here. And thank you, one and all. Praise God. Read your Bible, everybody. Thanks. Bye for now.